artists, it's Ms. Messer, your friendly neighborhood art teacher. Today, because of the school closings from the coronavirus, I'm coming to you from my home studio where I will be making videos in my pajamas for as long as we are closed. Let's talk about what we can make together today. Today, I'm going to share with you one of my absolute most favorite art forms, comics. Comics combine words and pictures in a unique way to tell a real or imaginary story. All you'll need for this project is a pencil, an eraser, and a piece of paper. But if you have them, you can also use a ruler, markers, and a ballpoint pen. Before we start, here's a comic that I made last year. I like to make autobiographical comics about my life, but you can make comics about imaginary stories too. Before we start drawing, let's think about the parts of a story. You'll need a character or multiple characters. That's the who of the story. You'll need a setting, which is where it takes place. You'll want your story to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you'll want a conflict or a problem. That's the why of your story. What problem is being looked at or solved? Let's start with drawing characters. I have another video called Transforming Stick Figures that shows how to draw a figure. You can check that out if you need help. But the nice thing about comics is that you can keep them simple. So I'm going to show you 3 simple ways to draw a character that are a bit more interesting than a stick figure, but not much more difficult. Watch as I draw a character using a circle for a head and a triangular body. Instead of making arms and legs that are sticks, I put 2 lines next to each other to make it a little bit more interesting. I put a simple face inside the head, and I like to make mittens for hands because hands can be tricky. Then I add some little loops for feet, and I'm done. My next character I'll make a slightly different way. I'll start with a circle head, but this time I made a rectangular body. I'm still adding arms and legs with 2 lines next to each other, and this time I made rectangular feet. I'm going to give this guy a different facial expression. He looks a little nervous. This last character is slightly more complex. I gave her more interesting hair and a big loop for a body. I'm still using the same method for arms, legs, and hands, but she has more details on her body and face, like a skirt, teeth, and more detailed triangular shoes. Practice a few ways of drawing a character to find out what you like. You don't have to make yours look just like mine. Let's go back to the parts of a story to remember them. You'll need characters, a setting, a beginning, middle, and end, and a conflict. Now let's talk about the unique parts of a comic. A comic tells its story through the use of a panel. A panel is a box which contains pictures and words. A speech bubble contains words that the characters are saying. A thought bubble looks like a little cloud and it contains what characters are thinking. It's a great idea to use pencil first so you can make mistakes and then trace over and color in with markers. You can also use a pen to trace over pencil for small words. Watch how I color in nicely and neatly using my markers. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to use comic elements to tell a real or imaginary story that shows a character in a setting with a beginning, middle, and end. I'll show you how I made my comic and then I'll set you free. I used a ruler to make panels because I wanted straight lines. I overlapped some of the corners of my panels, putting one on top of another. For the setting in the first panel, it's definitely home on the couch because that's where I'm spending most of my time. This first panel contains the conflict or problem, which is that the character is bored. I used a thought bubble to show what he's thinking. In the second panel, I use my knowledge of facial expressions to show how the character feels when he sees a sign that says free trips to the moon. I show that the setting is changed from inside to outside by showing clouds and drawing the sidewalk. In the third panel, my character is in a rocket, so the setting is changed again. I show this by making stars. I also added onomatopoeias, which are sound effect words like zoom and swish. In the last panel, the character is shown on the moon looking down at Earth, and guess what? He's still bored! I could finish this by shading with pencil, or I could use markers or colored pencil, whatever's around the house. Happy drawing, artists! I wish I could see what you make. I miss you all so much. Keep drawing and I will keep posting videos. I hope I see you soon.